first day of attaching footer forms was followed by several days of light rain. Although it was nothing major, I arrived this morning to find quite a bit of dirt piled up at the base of the footer trench. Erosion. It was a couple of inches of loose dirt buildup, maybe more than a couple inches in some spots. In this very moment, it's not a big deal for me to shovel it back out by hand, but anyone experienced in construction knows where this is heading, and will already see the early warning signs of future trouble. Let's just pause this right here. It looks like I'm glancing back at the work I've completed. Now, what should be going through my mind at this moment, but isn't, is something to the effect of, wow, a few days of light rain, and I already have a couple inches of dirt eroding into the trench. Should probably do something about that. Unfortunately, that thought doesn't cross my mind, and it's gonna bite me in the future. But for now, I'll just continue to shovel away, blissful in my ignorance. Now that I've cleared out the dirt enough to reposition the form boards, it's time to get those outer boards perfectly squared up and anchored into place. In order to do that, I've got to pull out my trusty old strings again. They're stiff from being back out in the sun and rain, but I think they should work fine, if I can ever get them unrolled. Always roll your string on a stick or something. Now that's some good advice right there. By using the strings in combination with the plumb bob, I can mark the exact exterior corners of the foundation wall. I have some nails laying around, and they work pretty well to press into the dirt as markers. The corner of the foundation wall should be 4 inches from the edge of the footer. Almost all of them are spot on. Alright, it's so bright out here it's going to be difficult to see, but there's a pin right there, and you'll notice it's only an inch from the sidewall. It's supposed to be 4 inches on each side. What happened is this board, and I verified this just a second ago, this board is supposed to be 16 feet. On the other end, sistered up to an 11-inch board. And what I did is I accidentally put the 15-foot 9-inch board and sistered it, so I'm 3 inches exactly off. So on the plus side, the pins are really spot on. On the downside, I need to take this board out and re-sister a 16-foot, an actual 16-foot to the board. I know I said there that I would replace the 15-foot board with a 16-footer, but I actually decided to just replace the small extender board instead of the larger board. I'm just smart like that. It was a pretty quick and simple fix, and I'm really glad that I'm double checking everything as I go, because that could have meant big trouble. My dad gave me his stash of land stakes, and those are really coming in handy. The stakes I'm putting at each of the corners will not only lock those corners into place, but will give me a solid connection to nail into to set the boards at level. I'm obviously not an expert, but I'd say a level footer is pretty important. Measuring in 16 inches from the outside boards, I found that a couple areas were too tight to the footer wall I excavated. In these areas, I didn't have enough room to lay the inside boards far enough inside. So I found this small pry bar to be the best tool on hand for removing some of that wall in those problem areas. But make no mistake, this was another tedious job in a growing list of tedious jobs. Spanning 1x3 boards were tacked into place temporarily in order to verify my 16-inch spans and to keep all my dimensions correct. I'm gonna have to install a bunch of these spanning boards for rebar, but for now, a dozen or so should suffice. The final step for today is to get everything leveled up. In the areas where I excavated too deeply, I'll take some rocks from the driveway to use to shim up the boards to level. Before too long, we should be laying rebar. And after that, concrete.